In Washington, something historic just happened. Not with a protest, not with a scandal, not with a speech, but with a vote. A quiet gavel strike that shook the foundation of American politics and redrew the balance between power and principle. For the first time in his second term, Donald Trump has been defied by his own Congress on a matter he considered sacred: tariffs, control, and dominance over America's northern neighbor. This isn't just another policy fight. It's a turning point. The day the United States government openly said no to its own president, and in doing so, may have handed Mark Carney one of the biggest strategic victories of his career. It happened just hours ago. The House of Representatives voted 219 to 211 to block Trump's attempt to impose sweeping tariffs on Canadian goods, tariffs that would have effectively launched a new economic war across North America. 6 Republican lawmakers broke ranks. In the current climate, that's not defiance, that's mutiny. Names like Kevin Kiley, Thomas Massie, Don Bacon, Dan Newhouse, Brian Fitzpatrick, and Jeff Hurd, not media darlings, not career rebels, but representatives from heartland districts, rural, industrial, agricultural, districts that need trade with Canada to survive. These lawmakers didn't just vote against their party, they voted for their voters, for gas prices, for lumber costs, for stability. And that vote wasn't just a political statement. It was a rejection of Trump's America First at any cost approach. Because what the House really said tonight was, protecting our economy matters more than protecting your ego. Trump tried to stop it. He went on Truth Social, threatening every Republican who dared vote against him. He promised they would suffer consequences come election time. It didn't work. For the first time since his re-election, Trump discovered the limits of fear. His grip on the party, once unbreakable, is cracking. Because what happens when threats don't work anymore? When loyalty begins to collide with survival? When politicians realize that following the leader could mean losing their jobs and their voters' trust? That's where Trump stands now, in a shrinking circle of control, surrounded not by loyalists, but by survivors calculating their next move. While Washington spiraled, Ottawa was methodical. Mark Carney didn't shout. He didn't provoke. He calculated. Because unlike Trump, Carney doesn't trade in emotion. He trades in leverage. Behind the scenes, Canadian officials were on the phone with governors, mayors, and congressional offices across the U.S., not threatening, but informing. They showed data, district by district, of how Trump's tariffs would destroy jobs in America, not just in Canada. Factories in Ohio, farmers in Iowa, auto plants in Michigan, lumber mills in Pennsylvania. The message was simple. If Trump's tariffs go through, it won't be Canada that suffers. It'll be you. It worked. Republicans looked at their internal polling. They saw what a trade war with Canada would do to local economies. And they blinked, not out of compassion, but out of self-preservation. That's how Carney fights. Quietly, clinically, effectively. Mark Carney is not a traditional politician. He doesn't thrive on applause. He thrives on accuracy. He ran the Bank of Canada. He ran the Bank of England. He's navigated crises that would make most leaders crumble. He knows that markets move faster than politics, and that real power isn't in speeches, it's in numbers. So when Trump threw out threats, Carney didn't react emotionally. He looked at the bond markets. He looked at energy data. He looked at trade balance sheets. He saw exactly where America was vulnerable, and he aimed there. In one quiet maneuver, Carney turned Trump's weapon, tariffs, into political self-sabotage. Inside Ottawa's war room, reports show Carney surrounded not by generals but by analysts. Maps covered the table, not of Canada, but of U.S. congressional districts. Every trade route, every truck crossing, every economic dependency. They built a model showing how each tariff Trump proposed would hit specific American voters, farmers, builders, manufacturers. That model became the argument that flipped 6 Republican votes, enough to change history. This was not diplomacy. It was data warfare. Trump was playing checkers. Carney was playing chess with spreadsheets. For years, Trump's unpredictability has been his greatest strength. The madman theory. Make everyone believe you're willing to burn everything so they give you what you want. It worked on NATO. It worked on Mexico. It worked on corporate America, but not on Carney, because unpredictability doesn't work against someone who calculates risk for a living. When Trump threatened a 100% tariff on Canadian goods if Ottawa worked with China, Carney didn't panic. He signed a trade deal with Beijing within days, one that allowed nearly 50,000 Chinese electric vehicles into Canada annually, while China cut tariffs on Canadian exports. Carney turned Trump's threat into leverage, showing the U.S. that if it closed its doors, Canada had others to open. That's not defiance. That's evolution. The irony is simple. Trump's tariffs weren't protecting Americans. They were taxing them. Lumber prices would have risen 20%. Gasoline prices would have spiked. Groceries, cars, and building materials, all up. Because Canada isn't an adversary. It's America's largest energy supplier, its biggest export market, and its closest trading partner. A war with Canada isn't just bad diplomacy. It's economic suicide. And that's what Congress finally realized today. Today's vote was about more than trade. It was about the limits of power. For years, Trump's authority rested on two illusions: that he could punish anyone who opposed him and that his party would always obey. Both illusions broke tonight. Congress didn't just challenge his tariffs, it challenged his dominance. And the fact that those votes came from within his own party proves something even deeper. The fear is fading. Mark Carney didn't just win a policy battle. He triggered a psychological shift inside Washington, a moment when even Republicans realized that America's economy matters more than Trump's pride. Around the world, the reaction has been immediate. In London, in Brussels, in Tokyo, analysts are calling it the Carney effect, a demonstration that even a smaller nation can stand firm against Washington if it understands leverage. Because what Canada just did wasn't rebellion. It was realism. The U.S. is still powerful, but the myth of American omnipotence is fading. And Carney's calm defiance sent a message far beyond North America. You can say no to Washington and survive. But the fight isn't over. The resolution now moves to the United States Senate, where Trump's allies still hold influence. Even if it passes, it will land on his desk, and he will almost certainly veto it. This wasn't a knockout. It was a warning shot, a reminder that the system still works. Barely. Inside the White House, sources describe Trump as furious. He's already calling for primaries against the Republicans who defied him. He's threatening to withhold federal funds from their districts. He's turning allies into targets. And that's where danger lies. Because a wounded Trump is unpredictable. He can still order stricter border checks. He can still disrupt trade under national security pretenses. The storm isn't over. It's just entering a new phase. In Ottawa, there is no celebration, only vigilance. The trade war rooms are still active. The military is quietly maintaining readiness along key border crossings, because Carney understands that victories in politics are temporary. What matters is positioning, and Canada now holds it. Carney's calm isn't complacency. It's discipline, the kind born from central banks and crisis management. He's not gloating. He's preparing. Because he knows Trump's next move will come not through diplomacy, but through disruption. For years, America's power rested not only on its economy or military, but on the assumption that others feared retaliation. That fear is evaporating. From India to Europe, from Latin America to Canada, nations are learning the same lesson. You can push back if you understand the system better than the man leading it. Carney proved that fear-based politics collapses when confronted with competence. And competence is contagious. Look closer, and you'll see the brilliance in Carney's timing. By moving trade diversification forward, signing new deals with Europe, Asia, and even the Middle East, Canada insulated itself from U.S. dependency. At the same time, Carney used America's own economy against it. By showing how many U.S. industries rely on Canadian imports, he made retaliation self-defeating. This wasn't just negotiation. It was economic judo, using your opponent's strength against them. Trump had power, Carney had precision, and precision won. For 70 years, America's authority in the Western world has been unquestioned. When the U.S. said jump, allies asked how high. But now, even its closest neighbor is rewriting the rules. When Congress votes to protect Canada from its own president, it's more than legislative resistance. It's symbolic rebellion. It tells the world that Washington is divided, that U.S. leadership is contested, and that global confidence is shifting. The U.S. remains powerful, yes, but it's no longer untouchable. And the man who quietly exposed that truth wasn't a general or a diplomat. It was an economist named Mark Carney. This story isn't just about Trump or Carney. It's about something larger, the evolution of power itself. We are entering an era where strength is measured not in volume, but in strategy, where economic intelligence matters more than political intimidation, where leadership is proven not by control, but by calm. Carney didn't win this fight with anger. He won it with clarity. He understood that in a world addicted to drama, silence can be the loudest statement of all. Today's vote may not end the trade war, but it ended an illusion. The illusion that America can always dictate the rules unchallenged. Trump will fight back. He always does. But the balance has shifted. The world is learning that even giants can be outmaneuvered, not by force, but by focus. Mark Carney didn't just defend Canada's economy. He redefined what modern power looks like. It doesn't shout, it calculates, and it wins.